Hello all, and welcome back to another episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season, we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are reviewing True Detective Season 4, and today we are on episode 3, and we're joined by two special guests, Nate and Pat. All right, do y'all want to introduce yourselves? Although folks should know you by now, but still, introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Nate. Happy to be back. I've got my spoon and I'm ready to dive back into the shit bowl.
Wow. Hot takes of fire right out the gate.
Yeah. I emotionally prepared myself for this, for Nate's concerted attack. It's begun. Pat, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
I'm Pat, an amigo of the cast, and happy to be here. I don't feel like I have as much smoke and salt flowing through my veins, but let's jump in and see what we got cooking today.
Oh, I think there's a lot cooking today. A lot. All right, well, if you haven't watched this episode yet, this is your spoiler alert. Please check it out before continuing to listen to the rest of this episode. All right, here on TV and Us, we've got a little tradition. We start off the episode with our episode titles of choice, and let's go around and share what we would name episode 3. So, Sarah, go ahead and share yours first.
My title is I Hate Everyone.
Nice. Pat, what about yours?
Mine was We Were Here Before. Trying to keep my meta
I was intrigued to see what you do.
conversation happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to share mine next because we're going to save the best for last. My episode title choice is Bedtime Stories. And Nate, what was your episode title choice?
Mine was Mom Says Hi. And the alt on that was going to be Shut Up, Jackie Boy, You're Dead. But I thought that was too deep of a Sin City cut. I wasn't sure if that would land.
You're talking to my heart right now, friend.
All right, let's dive in, shall we? With our spoons and our forks, our sporks, our knives, we're all the utensils, we're ready to dive in. Since we've put Sarah and Nate on the spot in the past, we're going to start with Pat in the hot seat. I'm curious, how do you feel about episode 3, Pat? You're my fellow comrade for a good while. Have you jumped ship?
You have an exquisite ability to deflect starter responsibilities. I say that as a compliment. I'm fucking bored, man. Boredom's the first step to relapse. I mean, this felt like we're halfway through, and we're continuing to introduce smaller questions. We are not really answering anything. And now people's parents are talking to them through proxy of people in induced comas. Oranges are rolling back. I'm not here for all this ghost shit.
The fruits are coming for you, Pat. There's apples falling from trees for the trailer of men. There's oranges rolling around on the ice.
For real, like if I watched through the whole credits and saw like in collaboration with A24, I wouldn't be surprised.
How dare you?
You heard me how I said it, and I would say it again.
Okay, we'll do the temp check around the table here. Sarah, how'd you feel about episode 3?
Jen, I had this moment while watching this episode that I was like, maybe this will actually be enjoyable for me. It was this moment when we're just getting some good character development from Navarro and we're learning more about her backstory. And I was like, okay, This is interesting. I'm enjoying this. And then the rest of the episode happened and I went, nope, I'm not feeling this. The dude is channeling her mom. No, you have this really deep moment with her talking about like not knowing her name. And then like 20 minutes later, the dude is like, hey, what's your name? Like, are you kidding me? No, just we are intelligent viewers, okay? We can remember things. You don't have to shove all this crap in one episode. And Liz still sucks, and I want to spend 0 time with her. So I am still advocating for the version of this show that is just Navarro. Navarro is the main character, the town is the other main character, and Liz is nowhere to be found. And I think this could then be a lot of fun. But yeah, not feeling it.
Nate?
Yeah, well, it's going to be beating a dead caribou at this point, but it's it's a bad show. It's a shame. It's very competently shot, but yeah, I think the jury's in. I don't think it's recoverable at this point. Personally, I think that yeah, I mean, either the ghosts. Either there are ghosts and this is a dumb show, or it's all a dream, like a hallucination due to some neurotoxin that the miners dug up. And then it's just a bad show.
It's the A24
or it's some
I've been
mix of the
talking
two.
about for over a year. Oh, I hate everything and everyone. It's all fun and ghost until it's a property that means something to you.
Say this was called Night Country. Not called True Detective. It's called Night Country. And it's not about the case. We're just getting to know this town. And this is a metaphor.
Slowly.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm a bit harsh when I say it's a bad show. It's just not my show. It's not my kind of show. It's not what I want in a True Detective show. That's not what it's not what I want in a True Detective show. It's just not what I want in television.
We hear you, Nate. What you're saying is it's not my True Detective.
No. I just mean it's like it's just melodrama. It's like if you like melodrama, that's fine. People like melodrama. You can put that on, but like I don't like that in television, and I don't like supernatural stuff in television. I just don't think it's very engaging. So it is definitely not.
Where were you for all of our A24 conversations?
That wasn't supernatural. That was theming. Like I'm not going to have this conversation again.
Theming, caribou committing suicide or theming. We got a little tidbit.
That's what I'm
yesterday
saying.
That's
my argument. This is 6 hours of A24, and I'm here for it, y'all. I'm here for it.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point if we see Rust come out of the darkness riding a caribou, juggling some oranges.
Yeah,
with a polar bear somewhere.
Which A24 movie did that?
Well, not the one with the octopus semen. Hold on, I think I forgot its name. I'll come back to you on that.
That one is very good.
The Lighthouse.
Okay. Men was bad.
Yeah.
I think we all agree that Men was not good.
Somehow, all roads lead back to the A24 gauntlet. That really like cut deep for you, huh, Pat? Just left an imprint.
Well, I feel like I'm living it again. Like I said, I'm bored. I'm kind of like, all right, Navarro and Danvers don't like each other. And they kind of like bump into each other again. Danvers doesn't really seem to have a lot of range. She just stays shitty. And she then reads a kid a story or tells a story about
Puddle the unicorn.
Rudolph the unicorn. And you can still tell she's shitty because she's only doing it so that the two of them can get what they're there for. Not because she cares about kids or unicorns.
Well, I think that's a bit unfair. I think this was like the first episode where you get a little bit of humanity out of Liz, and all that was good. Like when she goes to the morning thing, the wake or the whatever it's called for the stillborn. Like that was like the best scene, like maybe in the show so far. Like I liked the pan across everyone, and I liked how there was no dialogue. She just kind of like has to sit with it and like reflect on it. And then it goes to like her going to the bathroom immediately after to get some space, and she's immediately confronted with like the dirty water and everything. Like that sequence was really good. It was cut in the middle with like a sound stinger of like a horror sound, and that made no, like, what is with the editing in this show? Like that made no sense there.
All the
that pissed me off.
That's happening.
The whispering, yeah. The screams to bookend. Yeah. We're full on mythological.
So Liz still sucks, but this was like, she still had, like, this was us getting humanity out of her.
Yeah, but I've seen too much conniving out of her such that this was like, it wasn't enough.
Not
It
yet,
wasn't
but the
enough.
thawing has begun. You know, of your.
And what's going on with that? It's been like 5 days. What happened to 48 hours?
Yeah, didn't we get 2 day changes in this episode?
What do you mean, like 2 days pass?
Man,
Or 2 timelines?
Yeah. 2 days pass. Yeah, like
it's practically spring and these fools are still in the ice rink.
where's the big boss police
Right?
chief who showed
Ted.
up and was messing
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
up? Where was he?
So this is a long 48 hours. Maybe they're really loose with what 48 hours is because it's just night all the time. So I don't know. Time gets funky. But yeah, I wish that time constraint was used a little bit better, because I think that could be a really interesting, like, for stakes and pace of this. Like, oh my gosh, we only have 48 hours. We need to get on this, and we need to, make progress on this case before it's removed. But instead, I think one of the things that bothers me about this show, there's a few things, but like, their version of detecting is asking questions and then moving pieces of paper in various geometric shapes. And I'm like, that is not really detecting.
In a tiny
like,
room.
what are we doing here? I don't
In a
get
closet.
it. So, right? Like, okay, if we take them and instead of lines, we put it in a circle. Okay, now we'll be able to find the clue. Like, what are we doing here? I don't get it.
Well, it's all about finding the right questions,
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you gotta scramble the words and who to make it how. Or scramble the letters, I should say.
So that's all we're doing. We're just playing Scrabble, basically.
That's what this show is, yeah.
Just pushing our food around on the plate. We're not actually eating anything. All right.
I can't with this. It's a drinking game at this point. Asking the right questions.
They really
I can't
handled
with
that.
it.
All right, Jennifer, what's your temperature? Where are you at? You've done a great job emceeing and pulling and extracting from us. Your turn.
Yeah.
I am squarely on the other side of the table, on the other side of the room is where I am. What's most compelling about this show so far to me is, like, in episode 3, the world expands. Like, I'm just loving infiltrating and getting to know these people in this place. And I think that the crime is not the most important thing. So the case is fine. It's whatever to me. But I think it's what the case represents. Like, I think that line that Danvers says, I think in episode 2, of like, Ennis killed Annie, and kind of the larger forces at play here, I think are really fascinating. I think we get to see a lot more different, like, groups of people and communities in this world and what they're about. And I think there's a lot of, like, intersecting conflicts of interest that are starting to, like, really collide with each other. So it's what I was interested in True Detective season 1, as well as, like, how is this connected into the larger government systems, the sub people, the day-to-day lives of these people. And I think that this show so far is doing an amazing job, like, letting us into their world. And I think a lot of that cosmic stuff, I hear you, but I think that it's meant to be, like, metaphorically representing the, like, state of delirium that the people that live literally at the end of the world are experiencing, and how that totally begins to cloud their sense of, like, trusting themselves and their judgment and their sense of morality. Like, you see, like, everyone is on the edge in this place, and what does that do for figuring out how to run society in a stable way and, like, reach justice. I think that all of that's really fascinating to me. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see if the show will go full mythological horror, cosmic bullshit, or if they will somehow, like, bring it back down to earth. And, a lot of those scenes, Navarro is often alone, and we know her background with mental health and whatnot in her family. So I'm like, they could back themselves out of this a little bit, or they could go full on into it. So I'm intrigued to see which one they go. But I think, like, mood wise, this is definitely leaning into horror, mythological horror stuff. So I wonder if they'll keep that tone or shift back. Gives a little tease. Piss off some people like Patrick,
Well, I'm just wearing my emotions through my rage. Nate's wearing them in his heart. We're all different. We're all just trying to survive. We're all living our own
I'm fine
world right now. Did you say you're fine?
I didn't talk about season 1, so that was good.
I was actually just going to say something.
So I watched the episode twice.
This one?
And
Episode
the
3?
first time I watched it, yeah, because I was just like, let me just sit back and like try and enjoy this. And I nothinged it the first time. I was just like, it washed over me, and I was just like, I feel nothing, which is fine. And then I started to actually analyze it, and I was like, oh no, I hate it. But like the fact that like nothing came up until the very end of the first time that I watched it, that like pissed me off. I was like, oh, maybe I can enjoy this show. Like similar I think to Sarah's experience. And then yeah, there's just a lot of instances where I mean, I think Sarah hit it on the head where it's just like they don't trust their audience, and that's disappointing from like an HBO show. And yeah, I kind of agree with you, Jen. I think I think the continuing to be the best thing going for it is like the setting and getting to know the people there and everything, and like all of that like is the meat of the show. But I think it just needs like better anchoring, like when you're in the car with the two leads of the show, it shouldn't be this.
Yeah, that was one of the weaker scenes. I'm like, okay, we've got our two people in a car. Like, here we go, y'all. Like, and yeah, it's not great.
And there wasn't even
it's like one you should nail if it's going to be True Detective, right?
And there wasn't even extravagant wheel play. Like, we could have actually got something from that scene.
No, it looked better than season 1. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Jen, not to take shots at you being the youngest on the call, but
where's he going with
when you're like outside and a car goes roaring down the street and its bass is so loud it sounds like the car is about to fall apart, like panels are just gonna start falling off of it. Okay, when something has the name True Detective on it, you don't think you're going to get a product that is equivalent to a Saturn, which right off the lot sounds like that car that's panels are going to fall off, and probably will. You're thinking more along the lines of like Land Rover, Bugatti, anything, upscale, which is a big range. So, when you're driving off the lot and you're trying to feel good about yourself, and all of a sudden you realize you're in a Saturn that's panels are ricketing and about to drop, it hurts. It's a sad place to be.
Was your mildly ageist comment because Saturn is a vehicle that doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah.
Okay. That's right.
Sometimes it's hard to follow.
Are people not more upset about the fucking orange? Nate, you didn't get ticked off until the end?
I know I think it's pissing, like I did some reading, it's pissing a lot of people off. It didn't even like phase me. It's just like the orange rolled back and she was like, all right, I guess I'll leave. And I was like, okay, cool.
I'm gonna
don't want to investigate that.
I'm gonna try and hire some keyboard warriors. The new modern way to say jumping the shark is self-moving fruit.
Yeah, that's got the same ring to it.
I would like to issue the same homework assignment that was given many months ago when we were talking about True Detective Season 1, which is for us to live in Ennis, Alaska, and you tell me you're not seeing fruits rolling around on the ice left and right.
Yeah, I'm going to be unavailable for the trip, so that sounds
I've got plans.
Yeah, no thank you.
Look,
but you guys enjoy.
Right. I've slipped on the ice. If I took a tumble like Navarro did and then got up and saw an orange, that'd be one thing. But it didn't go down like that. All she had was a dream where she was in a totally different climate. I'm concerned that they're going to start trying to pull things together too quick. Like, we're going to drag it on, and then it's going to be like the second half of episode 5 and 6, where all of a sudden we understand where the miners come into the whole thing. Now we understand why there's spirit forces swirling around, letting you know mom loves you.
Yeah, that's one of my concerns too. I think I'm having an issue with the pacing of this show, and we've talked about it a couple times already. Like, this is only 6 episodes, and I don't know that they're using their time as wisely as they could be, because I think you can develop characters and show us the town and investigate the case a little bit differently and maybe integrate those things together a little bit more so that it takes up less time, and then we can have the space to let some of these things breathe and build, so we don't need all of this stuff jammed into like one episode and then we never talk about it again and then we move on to the next thing. So I am a little concerned that at the end it's just going to be this like, oh crap, we need to do all of these things, so then let's have the case crack open. I think that's going to be a little underwhelming if they do that.
I did have a thought after this episode, because this episode is a lot of like what I was waiting to see and hoping that they would deliver. Like, we get a little bit more character development. We kind of zero in and go deeper into some of their backgrounds. The storylines overall are like beginning to expand and breathe and open up more. And I think that episode 1 and 2 should have been episode 1, and this should have been episode 2, where we begin to open up the world a little bit more and we begin to like go deeper into these storylines. Because I think, like, for the most part, 1 and 2 are a little bit similar in tone and progress in themes. Like, it's more of the same in episode 2, just continuation of certain threads. Whereas I think in episode 3, we're seeing some things begin to like be reframed slightly differently, or details prior that are beginning to like come to the light a little bit more. And I think this should have been the episode 2 in this kind of 6-episode structure. And then we have a little bit more runway. So this like opening up of the world, I think, could have happened a little bit earlier.
Because I think that applies even to like what we were talking about with Liz earlier. You have that like one scene with like her and the kid, and it's like, oh, that's nice, but like for me, it was it was too little, too late. And so I was like, why are you showing this to me now? And you show me one redemptive thing after I've just watched her be a bully for like 2.5 hours. It's not enough. So I think to your point, this would have been a better episode 2, and I think that would help with the pacing overall and some of the character development stuff that I think the show is struggling with Liz.
Because there's 3 moments for Danvers that we see her humanity and that softness in her. There's that scene with the kid, the little kid. Then there's that scene, which I think is still good. They're going to tease this out a little bit more, but like, it's implied there's like this protective mom bear side of her with Leia, and her asking her to take off the markings, which I think is a slight reframing of the previous scene where she just looks like an absolute like racist asshole. But like, there's more to it than that. There's concern for her safety and her being a target, all that stuff. She's still rude about it, but like, we begin to understand it a little bit more. And then there's one more scene. Oh my gosh, it's escaping me.
I was gonna say the wake or anything like that.
Yes,
like
that's the one.
Okay,
that's the one. Yeah, and we see her begin to also understand the thing that she was just yelling to Leia about around like the mines and the effects that it has on people and all this kind of stuff. So 3 in 1 episode is a lot. Maybe we sprinkle one of those a little bit earlier, because it's like a total shift.
That's a fair point. I'm curious and concerned about the relationship with Pete, because I thought the scene on the ice was interesting, but he's also not giving her like a cold shoulder, but like he's kind of giving her like some distance and some attitude, and it feels, even though like there are pressures from his wife, it doesn't feel congruent with the dynamic they had in the 2nd episode. It's like all of a sudden in this one, he's like standoffish and got a chip on her shoulder, but he's still lying to her about what happened to his face. So she's making jokes about it. And then, Hank basically comes out and calls her a cougar, and she throws his coffee in his face. Like, people can't just walk around and behave like that. And if it was other people, I feel like there'd be greater consequence.
Yeah. I kind of think this Pete thing has been given way too much like space in this show. It just feels a little bit dragged out. Like, this case hasn't been going on that long. Like, what's it been up to this point? Like a couple days?
5 days.
And like, his relationship is this strained. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't. It's taking up too much space. I don't know what it. Like, I healthy workplace dynamics and everything are important and everything, but it feels like I don't know what it has to do with the rest of the show for me. Like, how many mass murders does Ennis get that takes up so much police overtime that like this is a massive problem in his home life? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it again contributes to like why are we focusing on this so much when you have such limited time and you've teased out all of these other things? Like, can we focus our
Yeah.
attention elsewhere rather than here? Like, I get it, but also, I don't know. Would another focus better serve this story and make it more engaging?
Also, Navarro kind of starts bullying him. I was like, why are we doing this? Like, what is this for? Keeps calling him freshman and everything.
I
Like
will
that was.
say, I forget who said it, I think in the last episode, Sarah or Jen, but you did comment that there's more of like a playfulness with Navarro's banter over Danvers. And at least like when she's calling him a freshman and stuff, she's got this big smirk and like, I don't know, it feels like there's some like clear semblance of I'm teasing you versus with Danvers, it's like I might actually be legitimately pissed off at you and take something out on you later when she makes her jabs.
I guess I don't really buy that. I don't know. Like, I buy that in the banter between him and what's her name, Danvers' daughter.
Rhea.
Like that was like playful banter between them. Like it's pretty clear that he's not enjoying like what she's saying. So it doesn't matter if she has a smile on her face, in my opinion. It's like mean spirited in that sense.
I think something bad's going to happen to Pete, unfortunately. Like, I feel like he's pressed on literally every side.
Even though it should happen to Hank.
Yeah, he's just the worst.
Yeah. They give him a little moment where he brings the little ice skates, and I'm like, not enough.
Too little, too
Fuck
late
this guy.
again.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it also is at the same scene of the same crime scene. Like it's where he hit him. Like, hey man, I know last time we were standing in this very spot, we didn't have the best exchange. Here's some ice skates that are too small for you, too big for your son, and yeah, I'm a grandpa, I guess. Give me a call.
Well, and I think it's indicative of like the way that Hank is. He's got a conscience, but like this is his way of manipulating Pete to like keep silent. Because I think there's like a little scene with Pete and Danvers where Pete lies to cover up, even though Danvers clearly is implying that she also knows what's happening. But he's not forthcoming with it at all either. So I feel like there's this like, I don't know, this like internal turmoil in Pete as well around like not outing his father too. What did y'all think of the Annie flashback at the beginning of the episode?
I enjoyed that scene. I enjoyed getting a view into her personality more than just it being like on screen versus it always being something that is being described by mostly Navarro. But
I agree with that. I like that it sort of contextualized why she meant so much to Navarro and why she would kind of go to these lengths.
Well, and I think it also
What do you
contributes to like what you were saying earlier, Jen, about like getting to know the town, and I think like even this episode shining a light on the like infant mortality rate for this population and things like that, like I think are really important in like just helping us understand what it's like to live in this town and what it's like for these people who are living there. So I think it was good, like you guys mentioned, for this character and for Navarro, but then for the larger context as well. So I think it was one of those scenes where I was like, oh, this is really effective. This is doing a lot right here. So I think it was a good moment, a good choice. Solid.
Yeah, I loved that scene. One, I think just at the beginning of the episode, I feel like it was great to be able to like showcase this person that we're talking about and fighting for and who they were. Because I feel like so many times in these like crime stories, it's like unnamed or like we know the woman who is dead and there's so many like shots and whatnot of like their bodies and whatnot. But it was neat to be able to give her that humanity and then to see that backstory for Navarro. But I thought that like later on they like teased that thread really well in conversation with the stillborn child that we see Danvers showing up at the wake for, because and then it's then connected to the mines around like the toxicity in the water and how that affects just the infant mortality rates in this area. And so like for this community, the problem is not just the mines and the jobs and the like oppression from that angle, but like it's incredibly personal for them. And I thought it was neat that Annie was a doula, and so it is so much closer to home for her and why she was fighting so hard for it, which then caused her death. So I appreciate that we get to like double click on that a little bit more, because I feel like sometimes these stories focus on the like, and we're going to find the big bad dude who, committed the act. But there's a lot more that I think is surrounding and contextualizing the story that really worked for me.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not excited to learn who she is.
Yeah, what are our theories?
She's awake. We woke her up. Miss me with all that shit. She better be the one-eyed polar bear, because otherwise we still have way too many stakes in the fire, and I don't think that we're going to be able to cool them all down in time.
Yeah. We got a one-eyed polar bear throwing fruit, Like, this is a real problem. Causing a mass reindeer suicide. Like, this is a real problem. She's woken up and she is terrorizing this town with fruit and reindeer, like, crimes. We got a problem.
At this point, it's literally the only logical explanation.
Yeah, the one detail that they uncover that I was like, oh, I think we're like in too deep to weasel our way back out of this, is that the men all died from cardiac arrest from fear of something. I was like, you can't explain this one away. Like, I don't know. Yeah. The oranges and all that, Lund being possessed at the end, you could still, chopped up to being Navarro, just like having these like delirious moments of delusion. But that one, this is science, man. Like, I don't know how you're gonna explain this one. How are they all scared at the exact same moment at the same time?
I was actually wondering that in the very beginning, because when they first show them in the ice, I think I was making a comment how it's very reminiscent of the movie The Thing, in which they have these like deformed bodies that are in all these like shocked positions and stuff. And again, like, yeah, things don't freeze to death that way. And so I actually really enjoyed that the vet guy came and explained it. It was like, no, I've seen a lot of animals that froze to death, and it's like they just kind of go to sleep. Like, this is something else. So I'm actually really glad that that came back around to being addressed, because I was like, if we just have all these like crazed faces, people clawing eyes out, eardrums exploding, and we just never even acknowledge that that's an absurd thing to find in some ice. Come on now.
Glad it took a veterinarian to explain that to the chief of police in this icy town.
Who she then tried to bully into doing an autopsy. Yeah.
Honestly, though, like, she, in the first 2 episodes, she's manipulative, she's a bully, just a generally unlikable person. And then in this episode, we see her, it's either implied or she jokes about it or she actually commits a crime. And I'm like, okay, we have like just crossed some lines in this episode. Like, being a bully and then being the chief of police who also breaks the law are 2 different things. And I don't know. I didn't like Liz, but even that was like, okay, come on. We couldn't have like laid the groundwork better for that.
Yeah, she's like, hey, just do it for me. Like, so today. She's like, oh, you're right. That would be illegal. Yeah. Right.
Just a little.
I think it's Pete that like calls her out on it too. He's like, can we do that? She's like, you're right. That would be very illegal. We wouldn't do that.
So don't y'all just love the trope where the person with all the info conveniently dies, like just before they're able to give any information? Do you love it so much that you needed it twice in a row?
It's so good, Nate. This is the best version of screenwriting, don't you know? We must have this, not once, but twice. It's that good.
Twice in a row. Double the cliffhanger. Double the cliffs.
You can like only roll your eyes at that point. Like, because you could spot that from like miles away. Like, as soon as he was in a coma, it was like, oh, we know exactly how this is going to go. Like in episode 1, it's like, all right, so he's alive somehow. Great, they're going to do the thing with the thing, and then we're going to get basically nothing. And we'll wait 3 hours for that to happen. And right on schedule.
The thing that like blows my mind is that the audience got literally nothing. Like, Danvers got "she's awake." Like, she didn't have that before. But the audience got literally nothing. Why is it like that?
No, the audience got,
Why is the
your
writing
mother
like
is
that?
waiting for you. That's what the audience got.
Yeah, shall we talk about that? How did everyone take that moment in?
I was waiting for a clementine to fall off my counter and roll over to my foot. And because that's illogical, it didn't happen.
You're having a normal one about this orange, huh?
It's hard.
It was just
The
the
things-
end, like the thing. Yeah, the scientist saying what he said, it was just like, meh, whatever. Okay, this is more of the same bullshit. I'd rather have not had that scene and just had a scene of the polar bear like catching a fish.
Yeah, well, the amount of times that we've heard about the apples, I'm like, this is the new apples. I'm going to hear about the orange for the next like 5 years.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be terrible the next time we're in a meeting together. And
We get a little bit of multiple timelines, like a little taste, with Danvers telling the story of the bedtime story of what happened. Thoughts on that whole scene? She's telling Pete, that kind of tells him like 30% of the story and leaves a big detail out.
I was shocked that she did it. I was like, oh wow, like the writers are actually going against expectation and they're like leaning into something. I expected her just to be like, it's none of your business, brat. Go hack the phone.
Well, it's obviously kind of evocative of the season one, like, unreliable narration when they're describing how they came up to the house in like the episode 3 or 4 or whatever it was. I thought it was fine. I don't know. It reminded me of that, which I think, drives some fondness out of me, which is what they wanted to do, I think. But I think that it will be interesting to learn what actually happened, because they don't actually give you that. It's just kind of like, another kind of drip feed. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, she lies to him, and we only get like a fraction more information than he got. That, like, she's lying about that part. Like, there's obviously more to the story that's still out there.
Yeah, I think I appreciated the voiceover of her kind of repeating the lie and like what's in the report, and we're able to see a snippet of what actually happened. But I think I was like, okay, this is nice, but we're opening yet another can of worms. Like, why are we adding so much? I think was my issue. It's fine, it's well executed, but I'm concerned about the number of threads happening and the number of things they're going to have to resolve now in 3 episodes.
Yeah, and that scene was like, I agree with what you're saying, Nate, about kind of the callback to season 1. But I feel like a lot of stuff is done in this season just to provoke, like, ooh, like Sarah said, we gave you another thread to have to chew on or whatever. Whereas, like, one of the better parts of that, the equivalent scene in season 1 of True Detective, is like there is significant like character dynamic moments, and like I feel like that kind of anchor, it's like a pivotal point in the relationship between the two characters. Like Rust has his comment about like it's nice to see you commit to something or whatever. Like, like there was good character development, not development necessarily, but just like, I don't know. I think it advanced the characters, whereas this was just like a flashback that literally did nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I do think that there's something that they might do with it to run that thread, because I think it insinuates that there's a lot more that we've already obviously gotten a sense for between these two women and what went down. I think season 1 does a better job of like, we've been asking that question for like X number of episodes, and then there's the reveal of like, oh, that's that's what went down between these two people, and how their closeness had to, or it was like forced to become closer and like cover for each other in a way that they didn't have to before that moment. Like, it's pivotal. But I do wonder how it's all going to potentially like play out a little bit more. I was particularly excited by that because I was unsatisfied if the only thing that happened between Danvers and Navarro was just they had some vague beef in the past and Danvers took Navarro off the case that she cared passionately about. I think if they had just left that there, that would have been much more unsatisfying. So this insinuates that there's a much longer history between the two of them in their past that potentially we will learn more about in the next episode. So there's enough curiosity there for me.
I figured it out.
Do tell us.
All right,
You reveal. Enlighten us.
Hear me out. They go to the house in that flashback scene. The polar bear bursts through the window.
I swear to God.
It scares Navarro, and she backs up against the counter and freezes with her mouth open, and then an orange falls off the counter next to her foot. Danvers shoots the polar bear in the eye as it swipes and kills the abusive husband, and then it runs out of there, and it hates humans for the rest of its life. She was hibernating. We know she woke up because she woke up and she scared all the caribou into a mass suicide so that she didn't have to hunt them and can just go down the side of the mountain and go feast for the rest of the winter. Y'all welcome. See ya.
So that crime scene was a murder suicide by polar bear.
Yep.
Yeah.
That they stumbled upon. Got it.
And then the bear makes its way to the magical island that they crash into and lost.
Exactly.
Of course.
Because it's like, I'm sick of this ice cold shit.
Exactly.
I'm going on vacation.
It's a vacation. Yes.
Right.
It's very tiring. Enticing caribou into a suicide and murdering an abuser. The polar bear deserved a vacation.
Right.
There's a lot of twist and shout that I am completely missing. I don't know if y'all are missing it. Like, I'm getting it from subtitles only. Like, I'm not getting it from like the sound of the show. Like the guy
whistling it
in that flashback was whistling it. I just don't know twist and shout that well, I guess. But it was also like in the humming of like the refrigerator or something like that when she was putting the chicken away. Which is why she was like leaning in and listening. Like that was like twist and shout. Like,
haunting her.
Yeah.
I also missed that.
You just need to have subtitles on, which is another comment on sound editing, but I won't go there. There's also like voices and stuff on the wind a lot of the time, like people saying "help us" and stuff like that. Kind of interesting. The end was so bad. I wanted to circle back on it one more time. It was just like the guy who gives us nothing, and then she gets called out for a brawl.
Oh, yeah. Why are the hillbillies brawling in the hospital?
Yeah.
Why was that happening? Why did they send out the 90-pound, 60-year-old woman and not the woman who's a foot taller and built like a combat athlete?
Right?
Like,
none of it made sense. I was like, okay, this is what we're doing to get her alone so she has this moment with this guy. Like, we couldn't have done this better. But
and then he dies 15 seconds later. And then they go back out to the lobby, and it's completely empty.
Yeah.
Completely
Problem
fine.
solved.
There's nothing there.
Oh, yeah.
And my favorite fucking part was they watched this video of like an actual woman getting murdered in the middle of the hospital lobby. And it just keeps going, and they're screaming. Like that's the fade out. And people are just wandering around just like as if nothing's going on. Just all the hospital staff, patients are just going about their day as if someone's not watching someone get murdered on a cell phone, like right in front of reception.
I also think that there is a life lesson here that if you are making a video of yourself about to be murdered, let's give some helpful information from the jump. Like, let's start. This is where I'm at. this is the person who's murdering me. Like, can we start with some helpful information? Not like,
No, this is who I am. Like, it doesn't say that on the phone I'm recording it on.
this is my telephone. Now let me just say nothing for like 20 seconds. Oh, I'm murdered. Like, like, just help us out. Give us a crumb. But we get no crumbs. We just get a woman screaming as she's being murdered on a phone.
Also, who knows? She might have had a fighting chance if one of her hands wasn't recording something.
That's a good point.
It's like the video of the guy backing down like a hiking path being chased by a mountain lion. Luckily, it worked out in his favor. But should they have found his body, that video would be such a like insult.
Also, if you have 2 episodes back to back where the young cop cracks into cell phones back to back, and you get videos of people dying that give you no information back to back, you might want to spend a few more weeks in the writing room. You know, maybe delay the shoot schedule.
Yeah. Wait, what was the other cell phone thing?
He unlocks the
Clark's
guy's
face.
phone
with the face.
with his dead frozen face,
Right.
And
Right.
and sees the same opening that we saw when we saw the opening of the television show.
She's awake and well,
Yeah.
right. Polar bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which there's no getting out of that either. If it's in everyone's head, why did the fucking phone go out?
I think that they've committed. I don't think
They have to be ghosts.
no, the cardiac arrest is what really solidified it with for them. No way 8 men died from cardiac arrest in fear without it being something that's supernatural.
And I'm going to continue down my theory. I think they ran shitty tests on her, the polar bear, and that's why she hates them. And her, whatever test they did, she got some like opposable thumb. She folding clothes. She putting shoes up. You know, all in a nice array. I want to see more of her.
What's the over/under on the polar bear coming back? Like, I'm not convinced. I think that was like a drive-by theme thing. Like, I don't think the polar bear is real.
I don't think it's real either. I'm already mad about that. That's my whole shit.
I'm really hoping for murderous polar bear. You know, in the past couple of years, we had cocaine bear. Why can't we have murderous polar bear who is now exacting her revenge on the evil scientists? Why not? Let us go there. It might be fun.
I'd like to watch that show.
Right? I think it'd be a blast.
Like a revenge fantasy of like a polar bear versus like a mining company.
Yeah, could be good stuff. I mean, they destroyed her home, so she has to drink that shitty water too. So yeah, let her loose in the mine. See what happens.
And she can't, because the water's all shitty. She can't fish, so she's chasing caribou off of cliffs.
It's all the mine. It's the mine's fault.
Which means
the mine that is related to Tuttle.
Ace with the broken nose. No, yeah, Ace with the broken nose, and there was another miner, the guy from the bar who lied. They got to get theirs.
This is great. I hope that the polar bear gets her revenge. That would be a nice little way to end this season.
All right, well, let's give out some awards. Best character clue. I'm going to have Sarah go first.
Yeah, I'm going to say Pete doesn't watch enough good movies because he didn't know who Mrs. Robinson is. So, got to work on that Netflix queue there, Pete.
Pat, what was your character clue? Award choice.
I don't have a specific clue. I enjoyed the scene in the ice fishing box with Kavik. And I enjoy that he has a way of like turning her down a little bit and making her be a little less rigid. And yeah. And we like learn about her past like we talked about earlier.
Once again, the man can do no wrong. Like
Kavik coming out to shush her because of the fish. This guy's adorable.
All right, Nate. Best character clue.
It was the kind of the scene with the morning at the house and Danvers' reaction to that whole thing, and I just like that scene a lot. I thought it was very good, and I think that it's building up to her sort of inevitable confrontation with the impact that the like the ecological damage this mine is doing on this community. I thought that was a good little nugget, good little crumb, good stuff there.
All right. Mine is also a Danvers choice, and it's evidence of humanity because she's got this intimate knowledge of Ariana Grande's discography. The woman has a soul. Best burn. All right. Nate's favorite category. Nate, you go first. Your favorite category. Best burn.
My favorite category? Mine was, I don't even know if it's really a burn, but how many hours have you been here staring at this shit? I was like, same vibe, Vince. I get it.
Pat, best burn.
Hey, yo, freshman, you better learn how to run faster. But the burn wasn't on him. He was just a prop.
That's his fate.
Sarah?
Yeah, mine is when Navarro says, I watch Netflix because this is an HBO show, and I like that the show is burning HBO with that line.
I didn't even think of that.
Nice. Mine is Pete at Cinema History, who is Mrs. Robinson? BS. All right, looking ahead. We covered some of it, but what do y'all want to see? Biggest thing. Episode 4.
Well, I wrote down hastily anything. But if I need to talk in specifics, I would like to see some approach of closure to any of the many open threads before we yet pull on another one.
Yeah, I would like to second that. I also, in this section of my notes, have nothing written down. So that's kind of where I was at of like, I don't know. Like, just show me something. Let's make some progress on a case. I'm enjoying Navarro's character development. That's nice. So we can have more of her. I don't know. More of Navarro, less of Danvers. I don't know. More time in the town.
At least season 1, we had some Maggie excitement to be like, I hope Maggie makes good choices.
I think for me, like season 1, there weren't enough characters because like I was like, I hate Marty. I don't want to spend time with him. So there was like limited places where I could seek refuge. And then this one, there's almost like too many characters. And I'm like, I'm enjoying time with these characters, but like, holy crap, we don't have enough show left to accommodate all of this. So I think they maybe overcorrected for my very specific complaint. So I'm sorry, world.
Navarro's kept it in bounds, and she hasn't done anything significant enough to burn Sarah such that she's like hardcore Team Kavik can do better.
Kavik is great. Let's see more of Kavik too. That would be lovely.
See more of Kavik.
Oh, wait, you're stealing mine. You're stealing mine.
Sorry, Nate. Please go ahead.
Mine is just 60 full minutes of just Kavik fishing, playing with dogs. Like, that's what I want to see. Just like Kavik video blog, you know?
Making pancakes on the griddle in the middle of the night.
Yeah. And then Navarro shows up and it's like, oh, Kavik, you could do better.
It's the only contentious point of the entire episode.
All right. Well, this was our review and discussion of episode 3. You can find it available on Max.
You sound so defeated.
As my heart breaks. Yeah. One piece at a time.
I appreciate the unwavering optimism, Jen. It's great to watch. I'm sorry that you're in Sarah's seat from last time.
For the record, though, this is not better than season 1 and has a lot of problems, but there's enough there. I just want to be in Ennis, Alaska and just pal around and
For like 5 minutes, and then you realize how cold it is, and you're like, the hell with this. I'm going to meet you on the island with the bear.
But even that is fascinating. Imagine yourself in Ennis, Alaska. That's the framing I would like everyone to go into this next episode 4 with.
All right. I'll sit outside. I'm actually
Watch
going to a
this
ski mountain this
outside.
week. We'll sit outside and
Okay.
watch the episode.
At 3 a.m. in the cold with your
Right.
little laptop, okay? So,
With the wind.
But I'm already in a barren wasteland of good content.
It would be funny if after every episode of this that we watched, Nate then went and watched the corresponding season 1 True Detective episode to feel better.
I think that would melt my brain. I think that would also be really unfair. It's not even fair to, like, I was reading about this, and this was never meant to be like a True Detective season. Like, it was pitched to HBO, and HBO was like, make it a True Detective season, and they had to like rewrite some things to like make it into True Detective.
Yeah.
So a lot of those seams, I think, are visible.
Oh, I didn't want to know that. Now I actually feel like I have to feel bad for the damn season.
no, you just need to reframe your expectations and just stay in the seat of this roller coaster. The lap bar is down. Hands and
I'm
feet
not
inside of the moving vehicle, everybody.
I'm not going anywhere.
Nate is already halfway like
bar.
crawled out of this. Yeah.
No, that's not true. I've stated my exit criteria. And it depends on where Matthew McConaughey was when this show was filming.
We were in like the top of the loop-de-loop, and they said, this is my moment where I will use the force of gravity to weasel my way out of this car.
To a grim demise. I mean, if this show wasn't called True Detective, I would still be feeling real suspect about the things they're introducing, including the fact that they used a polar bear. I'd be more concerned about that than I am the orange.
I'd be interested to read like the original treatment and like how much it relied on like detectives and stuff like that, or if it was just like much more like supernatural and like I don't know, indigenous people focused, that kind of thing. I don't know. I feel like there could be a good show here.
I agree. There's also a way to do delirium and hallucinations in a way that still makes it logical and like makes it feel like it's executing within the bounds of reality. We're not doing that here.
I think season 1 did a lot of that.
Exactly.
Like a lot of the weird stuff was happening. Russ was around people, and it was clear he was the only one seeing this. You know, it was like pretty obvious. You know. All
right, we'll see. We're halfway through, y'all. Continue on our journey. The ride is not over yet.
Yeah.
You have not been released.
But the ride, the ride is slowing down. And at first, I thought that was a good thing. Now I don't know.
We'll be podding hard for the rest of this journey. All right, well, our name TV and us sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories, so everyone is welcome here, and we are glad you are all along this journey with us as we go through True Detective Season 4. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a review letting us know your thoughts about episode 3 of this season. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at tvnspod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. We will be back next week to discuss episode 4. We hope you have a great week, and we'll talk again very soon.